Welcome back to our next episode of Freedom by Design. I'm loving these. Are you loving them so far?
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I mean, this concept kind of came, we were just sitting around drinking coffee, talking about having these same conversations,
Hmm.
essentially. And I thought we should just roll a camera and record it and we'll put it out there. So this is not uncommon for us to have these types of conversations in the morning, just exactly about this.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to get them out to you guys and have a little bit greater impact with some of the stuff that we think about and talk about all the time. I'm really excited about this episode in particular because I think that a lot of people have a lot of paradigms, and some of you may not even know what that means. Some of you may have heard that term before, but we're going to dive a little deeper into what a paradigm is, where you might have received or gotten your paradigms from, and how we can go about kind of changing what that looks like in pursuit of your worthy ideal. So, why don't you start with just explaining what a paradigm is, for somebody who may not know what that term is?
So everybody has a paradigm, first of all, and whether you know it or not, and it's very uh, rather important that you understand it and learn a lot about it. But your paradigm is simply a set of beliefs that you have accepted as being true, which results in consistent habits in the actions that you take. So it exists on your subconscious level, in your subconscious mind, not in your conscious mind. And that is where people get, because they consciously believe one thing or another, but they've had these subconscious beliefs put into them from a very early age, and your subconscious mind will always overrule your conscious mind as far as taking action is concerned. So it is a set of habits, but it's based on the beliefs and ideas that you've accepted as being true.
Okay, so that leads me into this first question, which I think is really important because once people have that concept of what a paradigm is, so it's my thoughts, my belief system, within my subconscious, a lot of times people will say, that's just the way I am, or, I was raised that way, or this is why I believe that. Can you change a paradigm? And what does that process look like?
Yes. And not only can you constantly are changing your paradigms. Largely you're reinforcing them, but it takes a lot of conscious effort to redirect it. So there's a lot of sort of neuroscience that goes behind it, and we won't get too deep into that. But your paradigm, think about it as the software that your computer runs on. Okay, so your brain is not your mind. Your mind is different. Your mind is effectively activity, but your brain is not your mind. It is just a dumb terminal. Takes the inputs that it gets and then creates outputs through your body, which creates actions and results in your life. So your paradigm is the software that your brain essentially runs on. It's what you believe in to be true. So what software you have will determine what you see on the screen of your laptop computer, right? If you want to see something different,
Mhm.
if you want something different to be projected, then you need to change the software. No matter what you try and do to get a different outcome out of that piece of technology, you can't do it unless you change the software. Well, your paradigm is the software, and it can be changed. Very different process than changing the software on a computer, but absolutely it can be changed. There are basically two ways. One is through a strong emotional impact, which is almost always negative, and that is not something you want to rely on. But you think about in your life, if you or somebody around you has ever experienced tragedy of some sort or a health scare, you will, in the blink of an eye, change the way you see the world and change what you believe about the world.
Mhm.
Everybody needs to be healthier, eat healthier, exercise more, all these things. Rarely do people do it unless maybe they have like a heart attack or a
Right.
health scare, and then they come out and they're a different person. Like
Yeah.
they change their diet and they're
They
walking
look
every day.
completely different.
I
Yeah.
mean, it changes the way that they see the world at a very deep level. But we do not want to rely on a heart attack to change our paradigms on what a healthy person is, right?
Mm.
The second way is through the constant spaced repetition of a new idea over and over again, the same way that your paradigms essentially mostly have been formed. Now, the challenge with that is, especially the older you are, the longer your paradigms have been ingrained,
Mhm.
the stronger those connections are in your mind or in your brain, the physical connections of the dendrites between the neurons in your brain. And you have to essentially sever those and overwrite them with new ideas. Like
Mhm.
you cannot get rid of a bad habit.
Yeah.
You have to replace it with a new habit. It's that simple. Um, we are we are made to form habits out of almost everything and form habits really quickly. And there's a good reason for that, because we've got all these higher mental faculties that we can use that really set us apart from all of the other beasts of the world, right? And we're made so that we do as much as possible on autopilot so we can use our higher level thinking to solve complex problems, to create more.
Hmm.
Rarely do we direct that excessive energy towards positive thinking. We just want to kind of numb ourselves into something else. But that's a little bit about paradigms, how you change them. But yes, absolutely, you can change your paradigms. You can change your belief systems. They were all inherited from. They're not even yours, right? The vast majority of what you believe, are your belief system, isn't even yours. It was given to you from your parents, or the people around you when you were
Hmm.
very young, before you had the conscious ability to reject those ideas. And if you are not consciously rejecting an idea, you're subconsciously accepting it. And if you subconsciously accept it enough times, it will become part of your belief system.
Well, that's the thing that I think is important to note is that it oftentimes, obviously there's outlier cases, but oftentimes there was no malicious intent in terms of what was programmed into your subconscious mind, right? Your parents are doing the best job that they can. I had an amazing upbringing. My dad was always very much about savings, like get money, save it, pay off loans, don't have any debt, very risk adverse. And then I married Josh, and then we started farming, of all the things, jumping into the most risky venture ever. But it would make me, like, honestly feel very anxious, like physiological symptoms when money was tight, or when we didn't have enough savings, or when we went into more debt buying land, whatever that looked like. And the more like personal development I did, and like figuring out how to identify those paradigms, I realized that why I was feeling that way, because that was my paradigm that I had put in my subconscious at a young age, and I just accepted it. I didn't even really have the ability at that time to accept or reject. And there was no malicious intent. Like my dad wanted me to be secure, all those things. It wasn't a bad thing, but the fact that I was able to identify it and then be able to change that thought and entertain new education and knowledge into my conscious mind that I then could put subconsciously into my brain. So I guess what I want to ask you is how, I mean, some people will know already the paradigms that they have, they can identify them, but how would you go about identifying, paradigms that might be holding you back from pursuing your worthy ideal?
I just want to circle back a tiny bit before I get to address that particular question, because you said that you felt physically ill.
Yeah.
And when you take action and that does not align with your subconscious beliefs, you will feel physically ill. And that is essentially anxiety, the
Yes,
manifestation of
absolutely.
anxiety. If you stay in that state long enough, suppress it long enough, it will become depression.
Yeah.
Uh, you Depression leads to your body is not at ease. You're in a state of dis-ease, leads to all these things that we know about. So,
Yeah.
um, what does that mean? It means that when you understand how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way, you can fight through that. And you still have to, if you want to change your paradigm, you have to do that to some degree,
Yes.
but you understand what's on the other side of that. If you don't, you will retreat to your comfort zone because you just want to survive, which is completely understandable,
Hmm.
right? Your ego just wants you to survive. It doesn't like you feeling uncomfortable. Uh, So it's interesting that you brought that up, because it will absolutely, anytime you are taking action in your life that goes against your subconscious beliefs, you will physically feel
Yeah.
like ill. I've got a lot of our clients are hardworking agricultural folks, don't know how to sit still and do nothing, can make the winters very, very challenging. But I know that is something a skill I had to develop, to just sit and do nothing. And when you first do it, you essentially sit there and shake, literally physically shake, until you get over it and you understand what it is. And you just start building that belief that it's okay
Right.
to sit and read a book, or not do something physical and feel like you're having to do some physical work all the time. But now I kind of forget the initial. Oh, how do you
How do
identify
you
the
identify
yeah.
paradigms that you may have that could be holding you back from pursuing your worthy
So
ideal?
on a surface level, it's relatively easy. Take a situation in your life where you're not getting the results that you want, Identify the things that you're doing, the actions that you're taking that are leading to those results. Identify the opposite of those actions and do those actions. Okay.
Mhm.
On the surface level, it's that easy. Behind those actions, there are ideas that are forcing you essentially to take those actions, right? 95+%. You could argue that 100% of everything comes out of our subconscious mind, out of an idea that we have. But let's say 95% plus comes directly out of our subconscious mind, out of your belief system. There is a belief that is causing you to take that action that you don't necessarily want to take, that's giving you the results that you don't necessarily want to have. The work in identifying the root of that idea can be pretty extensive. That's largely what therapy is about,
Right.
right? Is digging deep into, often going back to your childhood.
Mhm.
Where is the root of this idea? And you do have to dig up the root of the idea to expose it and then replace that with a new idea. If you just try and replace over top of it, that old idea still exists there
Mhm.
with a lot of vitality, and it's just ready for a window to come back. So it is important. The problem with therapy is it stops there and it doesn't think about looking forward, right? It doesn't think about the idea that we're going to replace it with and what we're going to use that idea for.
Right.
And replacing that old idea with a new idea, frankly, it's just boring. Like, it's constant spaced
Mhm.
repetition. It takes at least 66 days. If it's an old, really ingrained idea, it could take way more than that. It
Yeah.
could take years. And then after that, the price of success is constant, never ending vigilance over your thoughts. You still have to remain vigilant over that old idea coming back to life, right? So it really never ends. So, but that is the process of identifying the non-productive actions that are resulting in your negative results. But you have to go deeper to find the ideas. Oftentimes, there may be one idea, one core idea that's leading to a whole bunch of different habits and maybe sub ideas that are creating a bunch of bad results. And if you just change that one idea,
Mhm.
like the idea that I'm not worthy of more, I mean, that's a pretty core idea. I think a lot of people struggle with that. Now,
Yeah.
so just play around with that idea. Where did that come from? Is it true? Is it not true? Does it align with what I want? Play around with that. If that type of an idea could lead to such a large ripple effect into other areas of your life, and not being able to set a goal, let alone pursue it.
Also, too, just kind of the ripple effect of if you are a parent and that's what your kids are experiencing, if your level of self-worth is low, then that's what trickles down into your kids, right? And it's the same cycle over and over again, right? Because those are paradigms and thoughts that are then being put in their subconscious, right? And I love that you said that it is boring to change a thought or an idea, to be able to, have that repetition every single day for 66 days or more. Like, it is not fancy, it is not exciting. Like, you just have to, do that work every single day. And it is as boring as it gets. But it is so worth it because you can't move on and produce a different result in your life, if you don't have a different thought,
Exactly.
in your subconscious. So
It is boring, it's repetitious, and people say it takes 66 days
yeah.
to change an idea. Like, I don't have time for that. Most people just say, I don't have time for that. Well, that would be 5 turns a year. If you could identify the 5 big ideas in your life that are holding you back and change those in 1 year, you would not recognize
Yeah.
yourself in a year from now. Everything would be so different, you could not possibly recognize yourself.
When you spun it that way the other day, that it would be 5 things in your life that you would change over the course of a year, I just couldn't believe that. That blew my mind, because today, in this day and age, everything is just instant gratification, right? Like, you get that hit of dopamine when you go onto Instagram and somebody likes your post and, all
Yeah,
those things with
yeah.
social. It's just constant and it's instant. And,
There's a
for
pill for everything.
there is, right?
There's
And
no pill for changing your paradigm.
you can do a quick fix for a lot of things, and this is just one thing that you have to be willing to invest time into yourself, because if you can invest time into yourself, then you can't pour into anybody else.
Yeah, and so 2 things: people want results immediately, and they'll quit after whatever, a week, or they'll quit after 21 days, which they've been told that's how long it takes to build a habit.
Right.
Not true. That's just how long it takes to build a long-term memory that's like the seed of a
Mhm.
new idea, the seed of a new belief. You still have to nurture it to grow it effectively into a plant that can self-sustain itself.
Yeah.
Um, and people want to change too many things at once. So you go through this and you're like, oh, I've got 3 or 4 different ideas. I need to change them all. No, it's like trying to do too many things at once.
Yeah.
You'll do none of them right. Right. So one idea, stick with it for 66 days. You'll make tremendous progress in that amount of time. You'll know at that point in time how much conscious effort will need to keep that belief nurtured appropriately. And then you can think about moving on to the next one. But just have some patience. Like, you have to have some patience. There is a pill for almost everything. None of them create long-term change.
Yeah.
There is no pill for changing your belief. The closest thing would be that Men in Black flasher, where
Yeah.
they wipe out your memory.
You're
That's
yourself
essentially what it
out.
is. But that is how you would find out who you are.
Yeah.
Is if you could take all of your memories,
Yeah.
and all of your ideas and beliefs are just memories from the past, take them, eliminate them all, dump them on the ground, and then refill it up with new ideas. Fill your mind up, or your paradigm up, with new ideas, and choose them as you want. What would you choose differently? What beliefs would you choose differently than what you currently have? Think about that. If you could empty yourself out,
That's a really cool
interesting.
question. I'll have to think about that. We now know how Josh feels about multitasking.
There's no such thing as multitasking. You can't. Yeah, I used to pride myself on being a
Me
multitasker.
too.
And,
Sure.
and yeah, looking back, you do none of it well, and just smoke starts coming out of your
Yep.
ears, proverbially. But I think eventually, probably it would have happened.
The
And
burnout.
yeah, it's awful. I mean,
Yeah.
multitasking is horrendous. Focus is everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you have so much energy, so much power within you.
Yeah.
When you can focus it, it's like the sun, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful sunny day outside. We can go. We're in Texas here. We could get maybe even a mild sunburn on a day like today.
Yeah.
You take that sun, you focus this much of it through a magnifying glass, and you would burn a hole through whatever you want to burn a hole through, right? That is the power of focusing your energy.
Yep. Good science lesson too. I've done that at home.
You can burn through frogs with
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I don't know that by experience. I think statute of limitations is up on that, so we'll be okay. But yeah, it wasn't my idea, anyways. Nick,
Oh,
thanks,
of
Nick.
course. So I want to ask you about the power of creating a alternative self-image, higher self-image, acting as if you've already achieved your worthy ideal. What does that tool represent, and how can you use that?
Too deep to go into it. We don't have time to. We're gonna have to do a whole other self-image thing. No, we are,
Okay.
because that is your self-image is your paradigm. It's just your beliefs about you and what you're capable of and the things that you can do, right? So part of my self-image was that I had run my hand through a table saw. I was incapable of playing the guitar. Turns out I wasn't. I was able to. That was just a belief that I had, right? So, but it limited me until I changed that belief. Your self-image is a part of your paradigm. It is just your belief system about you in particular and what you're capable of. It acts as a thermostat on your life. You will never outperform your self-image. We'll take it to a monetary standpoint. If you currently make $100,000 a year, that's likely what you see yourself as. You will not make more than that until you change the thought about yourself that you are capable and worthy of making more money than that. Then you have to develop the skills and create the value to bring in that money. But if that's who you were, you made $100,000 a year and somebody came and just gave you a lump sum of money, you would just squander it. It would be gone because you don't know what to do with that. So yeah, self-image and acting as if. I wrote an article for Brains Magazine on this, and the secret skill of success, I believe, is the ability to act. And we'll do a little sneak preview on the self-image episode coming up. But essentially, I view life as a play with a series of acts, and we move through life, and in every, we've all experienced different acts in our life. We're a kid, we're a teenager, you grow up, you're a young adult, you get a job, you get married. In each of those acts, you change a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you become a totally different character, right? Rarely do we actually design ourselves. It just sort of happens, right? That's the natural path of life. So we don't really think that much about designing that character through those acts. Then you get to a point where you stop, like, it's almost like the curtain starts closing, and there's no other act. So now we're in the stage of our life where we're creating the next act. In that act, you define what your character wants to do, and then you write the script for your character. You define who your character is. You design the wardrobe for them, how they speak, how they act, how they move, all of these things, and then you act as that character, and you play out the play. It works essentially like magic. But that is, to me, that is maybe hidden secret skill of success. So there's a little sneak peek into our next episode.
But there's lots of good information in this one. I'm excited to listen to it back.
Yeah, I would say a takeaway from today's episode is identify somewhere that you're not getting the results that you want in your life. And what are the activities or the actions that you're taking that are producing those results? And what's the opposite of that, right? If you just started doing the opposite of that, obviously, you would see some better results. Now, if you just start doing the opposite of that and don't work on changing the idea behind that, it's going to be temporary. Okay. Go a little bit one step deeper, think about the idea behind that might be creating those actions. And if you're stuck with how to do that, then by all means, go to our website, www.kznsolutions.ca, book a call, and we'll talk about it. I'm passionate about this. I just love talking about it because I fully understand people's potential far more than most other people.
Yeah.
That's the biggest challenge in working with me is I believe in you more than you believe in you, and
Mhm.
I want more for you than you probably want for you. So I'll try and bring that out of you, and we'll try and find those ideas that might be holding you back from wanting more for yourself.
Love it. Can't wait to chat with you guys.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. God bless.